Hello and welcome. This is the Zen community of Oregon, making the teachings of the Buddha Dharma accessible to support your practice. New episodes air every week.
In case folks at home didn't hear, I'm welcoming topics for the talk tonight. I'll try to blend them together if I can. So if you have any you want to put in the chat.
So I'm curious, consciousness is listed as one of the things that the self is not, right, in the Heart Sutra and so on. And yet we have, in Hinduism, Brahman is consciousness. Right? And even in cutting edge physics, there's talk of pantheism, that everything might have a little consciousness. And so why can't the true self be consciousness?
Why can't the true self be consciousness?
Why is Buddhism so sure that it's not?
I like that. That would be a great whole talk. But thank you. Yeah. All right.
During your meditation instruction today, you were talking about the world of vibration being more pleasurable, which caught my attention, and I'm curious if you could speak more about that.
Was that not your experience?
Oh, it absolutely, it is. It is actually, but I think I was talking to you about this. It makes me think of the inner light koan. It's better to have nothing than something good. And so I have been wondering about the pleasurableness of the experience of the reality of vibration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've thrown this one at you in a couple different ways, a couple different times. But a discussion of relaxation versus tenacity. In the
Versus
world
tenacity. Good word.
Yeah.
Tenacity. Yeah. There's no verses there.
That's it, yeah.
But you want me to talk about that? Okay.
Yeah, talk about that.
Relaxation. Okay, maybe one more. And anybody who's never spoken up or rarely does, care to enter the mix? Okay, Ash. Versus.
Someone told me recently that I was addicted to Buddhism, and as a pejorative, and I was wondering if that's possible and what your thoughts are on maybe having a softer, less strivey approach, perhaps.
Yeah, okay, great. Yes, there is such a thing as addiction to Buddhism. Maybe that'll be the last thing. Okay, so let's see. So consciousness not being the self, and why can't the true self be consciousness? So it is an interesting time spiritually because we can hear so many different things from so many different people who say things in their own confident way, and they don't actually all make sense. And they're not all on the same page. And it sounds like not only they're talking from different angles, but maybe they're saying something different altogether. Right? So everything in Buddhist teaching is what's called an upaya. And upaya means if we teach in this way, it will have a liberative effect. That's very different from saying, we have the truth and we're going to tell you what it is so that you can now know it. Right? One of the upaya, one of the skillful means of Buddhism is to say that consciousness, or to point out that consciousness is not the true self, or is not self at all. Put that next to many esteemed teachers who say that consciousness is the true self. At the bottom there is just a quality of awareness that never changes. Everyone has it. It's what is there when you strip away the personality. Why is that not the true self? So first of all, consciousness from a Buddhist perspective means your sense consciousnesses. Okay? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting. There's another one. And smelling. And thinking. We could say there's 6 consciousnesses. And that's often how it's taught. There's 6 of them, right? And these consciousnesses are pointed out as not being self for various reasons. The first is self means that you have some control over it. Right? Consciousness is something you have no control over. Right? The birds are your hearing. Right? My voice is your hearing consciousness. Right? The breeze on your skin is tactile consciousness. Right? It depends on these factors and is not existent independent of them. Right? Basically, you need a body for consciousness. No body, no consciousness that you can know. You can't experience a bodilessness consciousness because you always have a body. Right? And these consciousnesses are always in this intimate dance with the environment. Right? We're woven into the happening of the sense world. So in a way, ear and air and vibration are kind of making love, and there's this experience of consciousness. Take any one of those parts away, and you just don't have the experience. Even less than theoretically, you can be with any of your sense consciousnesses and just observe that it always changes a little bit. Right? It can't be rested on as unchanging. It's always in flux with the environment. Right? But these kind of teachings from the more Hindu side are saying, yes, there is that dance of the sense consciousnesses, but there is something that remains apart from that, right? That is clear and awake. So then the problem from a Buddhist point of view is that wherever we place identity, we make a mess. We create a distortion, a problem. We add something extra that we don't need. So we can say awareness itself is my true self and have an experience, a very lucid, wakeful, vibrant consciousness. There's a sense that clearly it's free of body-mind, right? A wonderful, confirming experience. But then what people tend to do is they go, yep, that's my true self, but this bumbling guy who gets annoyed by his mother-in-law, wait a sec, that's not the true self. Nope, because the true self is clear and lucid and has no content and so forth. So in a way, the problem is not that this experience of utter wakefulness exists. In a way, from my point of view, that's what redeems the whole universe. It's that when we say, this is me, you begin to spoil it right away. You begin to create a duality between your conditioned experience, which is always going to be there as long as you have a body, and something that you split off as the true kind of version of me. Maybe that sounds like, well, that's just a philosophical point. Who cares? I won't do that. But the question is, will you really not do that? The question is, will you recognize that even your conditionally arising self irritated at your mother-in-law is the luminosity of being itself? Maybe not if you cling to lucid, empty awareness as your true self. You might decide, I have to hide in a cave. This conditioned world gets in the way of my true self. There are all these obstacles to it because they animate me into the conditioned life. So I'm going to kind of get away from it so I can just be in this true self. I'm just going to drop out of society because conditions are not it. So if we can say my true self is no self, which means I'm animated by the universe and I animate the universe moment by moment, and not just say that, but recognize that that is the dynamic of the light of being, then call it whatever you want. Call it Nancy. Call it true self. Call it, it doesn't matter what you call it. In the Chan teachings, there was, apparently at some point in Chinese history, you were not supposed to say the emperor's name because they were too sacred. And to say the emperor's name was somehow a violation. But some of the Zen masters took that kind of cultural, what is not a colloquialism, but cultural sentiment, and applied that to awareness itself, applied that to the absolute. They said, we should not even whisper the name of the emperor. And that is, as soon as we start talking about the true self, then we begin getting this division in ourselves, and maybe in a division in our communities. We might look around the room and go, who's in the true self? They look like they're in the true self, pretty calm over there. That person has feelings, probably not the true self. As soon as we get into the ideas of it, we name it. All of our associations and projections that we bring to conditioned things kind of join the party. So it's probably better not to say the true self. Now, the thing I would invite people to do, if you experience that utter lucidity, there is some things for you to check out. Is there any identity there? In the true self, there is no identity. The whole world of the person that has your name has completely vacated, and there is just this lucidity. Right? So you don't even know your own name in that moment. It'll come back. Right? Does it have a boundary? Is it divided between my body and the thing? Is it still dualistic? Or does it penetrate all the way through and all the way out as a singleness? And if not, where am I still holding on to that? Right? So, the best thing in this practice, although it almost sounds like a broken record, is for us to know the mode of total no clinging to experience. That is, we melt control and the idea that somehow I am the master of these senses and this body. If from that practice we recognize this indestructibly awake dimension, excellent, but don't cling to it. Right? Because then we've lost the whole point. The pleasurable world of vibration. Now, this non-clinging is really pleasurable. Generally, there is a texture of blissfulness. In the Nirvana Sutra, which was a popular sutra in China that influenced Zen, they said that the true self has the quality of constancy, blissfulness, luminosity, and permanence. So they played with this idea. Right? The problem that can come if somebody emphasizes the blissfulness of practice is that we begin groping for it, right? And we begin not only groping for it, begin searching for it based on our own idea of what it's going to feel like. Okay? So somebody says it's blissful to meditate, and then someone goes home and says, I'll try that, and they go, no, it's not. You've lied to me. Because when we first start practicing, it's very hard to break out of the cocoon of our discursive mind. Everything is just wrapped up in that. We don't even know the degree to which our experience is swathed in discursiveness until we really start doing steady practice. And then we see, oh my gosh, it really is just a constant fuzz of words and judgments and ranking. We're always ranking. So to emphasize bliss for that person, generally it's not going to be so helpful. And sometimes we're that person. Sometimes we're that person who the mind is in such an amplified energetic state, it's busy, that even though the core of our being is blissful, it's not so easy just to drop down into it. So I contradict myself, because earlier today I said, drop down into it. Why don't you? But even when we can drop out of the cocoon, because cocoon's not really a good word. I actually am getting an image of like a hive. The mind is very much like an agitated beehive a lot of the time, isn't it? Yeah. To get to the honey of bliss, which is a fundamental texture of being, we do need to have some detachment from the mind, right? Whether that comes through purification from doing the practice over time, or we have enough kinesthetic sense that we really can just attune to the body and be indifferent to the dance of the mind. We're almost there, but most folks are then going to fixate on the displeasurable experiences of the body. Right now, in your body, there is pleasure that is humming and vibrating, and that is deep. But if you notice that most of the time, the discriminating mind inclines towards what's kind of wrong with your body. It seems to be more interested in your itch, or your ache, or your pain, than it does the bliss. How do you know that? Because that's what it almost always focuses on. How do I know that? Because your body is the same as mine. It's full of the bliss of fundamental energetic being. So to take it as a path to really rest in it means we can let the rest of the textures of the body just be as they are. It's one of the things we're cultivating, what we call equanimity. Can I just let something be what it is? Not what I think it is, not what it seems to be in my mind's reaction to it. And this is applicable, of course, off the cushion as well. But can I just let the textures of life just be what they are? To really just be what they are. And that's why I use the word textures. Because we have all these words for the flavors of life: hot, cold, sharp, soft, soggy, pointy. We have all these words. But our actual experience when we drop out of the beehive of mind is this textural experience. It's all texture. It's all felt. You feel it all. So to rest in bliss, we can learn to detach from the mind, be less interested in the beehive. And then we have to welcome the whole of the body. It doesn't work to avoid the discomfort in your body and go towards the bliss. The whole piece has to be accepted as it is. That's something that in any moment you can make that shift, and also it's something that you learn to do over time. And then your attention is free to rest in that dance of energy. It's free to rest in it, and that is a profound practice, partially because we love pleasure. Human beings love pleasure. In a way, many philosophers have said all of human life, if not even all of animal life, is oriented around the pursuit of pleasure. And many of them said, this is very good. What's wrong with that? This is even better than most ideas of that because it's saying your very own body has a dimension of bliss that is actually always pleasant. Always present. So you have to believe it, you have to be able to tune to it, you have to rest in it, and if you have some residual religious guilt that you're not good enough to sit there and be blissful, you need a therapist, because I don't know what to do about that. Because of all the problems that I mentioned, there hasn't been a lot of emphasis on bliss in the Zen tradition, which I'm not sure has always been that skillful. This has a lot to do with relaxation. Some teachers would say that this practice and even the path, even what it means to live awake, is something like 85% relaxation. But by relaxation, we don't mean the normal idea of, I have this state in mind called relaxed, and it's how I feel after a glass of wine, and I get on the couch, and the kids are asleep, then I'm relaxed. This is relaxation, I want to make an important distinction, as a stance rather than a state. The state of relaxation is something that you only sometimes get to experience. Now, I do think the more you let go of fixed beliefs and ego positions, you feel more relaxed throughout your day because much of what makes us tense is our own fixed positions. But relaxation as a stance is a stance of softening. It's a non-hardening against the textures of life that we don't like. And that's something to check out as with mindfulness. How often do we harden our body-mind against the textures that we say, I don't like to feel this? Right? Which is instinctually basically automatic. Right? We walk outside and it's cold and we steal up against it. Right? Or there's a little bit of a pain and we start stealing against it. Actually, I doubt that an infant does that. I don't know. We would not want to test that. But I doubt that we have that as children. I think we're much more supple with relation to experience. And then we learn that it's bad and we get it communicated to us that it shouldn't be happening. And as soon as we get the idea that it shouldn't be happening, this is a part of life that is not to be experienced, we start stealing against it. So relaxation is a non-stealing against. It's a yielding, that's a good word. It's a yielding into things. It is never advised, at least by any teacher I think I've ever heard, to practice in a tense way. It's never advised to sit down and try really hard to meditate. Has anyone, raise your hand if you've heard a teacher say, try really hard to meditate. You have.
It was probably projection.
Let's just out this teacher. No, unless it's me, let's out this teacher. No. Nobody I have ever heard sits down and says, try really hard. They say, be vividly awake. They say, be passionately engaged. They say, don't separate even from a moment from your breath. They say, let go completely. They say, die on your meditation cushion. But they don't say, be tense. Now, they might say that to us and we get tense because our conditioning around wholeheartedness has got coupled with tension. Maybe when we were in high school, we tensed our way through our tests, or we've tensed our way through discomfort, or when we start moving into the unknown, we start stealing against life. And so we have coupled or entangled wholehearted effort and trying really hard. And it's become like a body memory. I remember I used to look in the mirror during sesshin and I'd have bloodshot eyes. And it was like, dude, you're trying too hard. But I didn't know how to do anything else. I had to decouple passionate practice, which has nothing to do with hardening your body, from, basically I had to decouple passionate practice from hardening the body, right? From bringing tension in. Now, I'm talking about something that in a way might be the fruit of your realization. It's easy to say, but this doesn't mean you just get to do this, because the sense of self is attention. The very sense that you exist as the character with your name puts attention in awareness. As long as you haven't seen through that, there's a knot at the center. That's why in many systems, let's say, for example, Tibetan Buddhism, effortlessness, total effortlessness, and being liberated are seen as two sides of the same coin. Because the belief in what we are as a self that controls this experience and that has the universe on its shoulders and is going to bring its agency to make something happen, that sits down to meditate and it doesn't go so well. So we could say that deep relaxation in practice is one of the fruits. A lot of the physical pain that some of us experience in the early stages of our practice, a lot of that is actually kind of under the radar striving, or under the radar fighting against our own experience, or under the radar hero mode. I'm gonna do this, and then but it's like one of those finger trap things. You remember those? Those are really good Dharma teaching things. You put both your fingers in them, right? You know what I'm talking about? You pull it and it gets tighter. I want to get one of those and just bring it here and do that. Sorting out relaxation from tenacity is also when we begin to sort out the sometimes blazing quality of awareness from the body-mind itself. And when we realize that there is a sense in which awareness is one with body-mind, but also free of it, then that can passionately radiate. If you've seen pictures of like Padmasambhava, the great guru of Vajrayana Buddhism, or Bodhidharma of the Zen lineage, their eyes are wide open. Right? That's a literal practice instruction, but it's also about the vibrancy, the tenacious energy that radiates when it's not bound up in the body, hardening against life. Yeah, so be tenaciously relaxed. I don't know how to exactly tie this into addiction to Buddhism. Well, addiction to Buddhism. Now, if you're addicted to Buddhism, it's very hard to relax because you sit down and you've got all these ideas in your mind of what you're supposed to accomplish, how it's supposed to go. You've read so many books, all of your experience, you're Buddhifying everything you experience. You can't just have a cup of chocolate milk. Everything's an aggregate or a whatever. And especially the problem is that everything that's communicated verbally, it comes out of hopefully someone's experience, but sometimes not. They don't even have the experience, but it comes out of their mouth and they say such and such, right? Suffering. Okay. And then that hits our eardrums, our brain translates it, but guess what happens? It's translated by your brain. It's translated by your experience. And so you go, oh, suffering. I know what that is. Right? Or someone says, luminous awareness. Right? comes through your brain, you go, luminous awareness, I know what that is. And then you sit down to do your practice or live your life, and you are wondering, is this what they're talking about? Is this what they're talking about? And actually your experience of meditation in life becomes beleaguered by Buddhism. Because you don't know what's your experience. Is this the teaching? Is it not? Now, it's better to be beleaguered by Buddhism than not have it at all. In other words, it's good to wrestle with this place of the concepts of the Dharma and the ideals of the Dharma. That's even weightier for many people. Lots of ideals we internalize. They can weigh on us really heavily. When it goes well, and I think it mostly goes well, when it goes well, we digest this all. We, as the koan says, we kill the Buddha. Do you know this koan? This koan's about addiction to Buddhism in a way. It basically is a line from a koan, and it says, if you meet the Buddha, kill the Buddha. One of the things that means is we have got to let go of our ideas and come to the actual experience. The paradox is the ideas invite us into the actual experience. There are liberating ideas. Some people have had their whole lives changed, maybe even in this room, by reading a book that had these ideas about the Dharma that we hadn't really considered before. Or we knew something, but it was kind of vague. We vaguely knew something, we vaguely trusted, but now there's a whole lineage of people who are shoring up that we had an intuition of something deep. That's beautiful. But if it remains a body of ideas that we put upon ourselves, or that other people put on ourselves, it becomes what are called golden chains. They're better than ordinary chains in a way, but we have to break them. I don't know that much about other religions, but I do know that the Buddha said this is something you should let go of when you don't need it. And that's very different than most monotheistic religions, which would say, oh, no, you never let go of the methods, the means. You always are to hold to this as absolute truth. Buddhism is a raft. Right? And you could think, okay, someday I'll let go of that raft. But for a lot of us, it'd be really good to let go of it when we're hanging out with our buddies. At least let go of it a little bit. Right? So that Buddhism doesn't get in our way of our practice of Dharma, of showing up. There's a time and a place for everything. And, I'm affirming, okay, maybe there's such a thing as addiction to Buddhism. But if you're passionately engaged with the teachings and you love your practice and that's like what's really in your heart, that is so beneficial. Right? That is profoundly beneficial, I think. So the idea here is not to not be interested and engaged and love what you love, but see where it malfunctions. In my practice, I always got so much feedback about this, but it took me like a couple of years for it to actually affect me. I remember once one of my brother monks, I was doing a ceremony, and he was like, that was okay, your talk and everything, but you used to be funny. What happened? I was like, oh, yeah. How did I lose my sense of humor? How did I let my practice get in the way of my sense of humor? What happened? I needed that reminder. That was the Dharma coming through for me at that moment. So that's a place to check out. Right? To check out, is there a way in which I'm used by the ideas of the teachings and they actually get in the way? Because in the end, you're not doing this for Buddhism. You're not doing this for Zen. You don't need to do this for Zen. Your wholehearted practice will help the lineage. and may be of benefit to many, many people. But you're not doing this for Buddhism. Right? You are doing this. This is a gift for each of us to really appreciate the gift that our life already is. It's something to unlock how profound one's life already is. Right? Buddhism doesn't even need Buddhism. Right? But then, these institutions, these vehicles really help all of us practice. They've very much helped me. So, we then may be someone who builds a raft or whatever. Okay, I think I covered my topics. Maybe time for one or two reflections.
Zoom chat, can you see it up there?
Can I see what?
There's a Zoom chat. Can you see it on yours?
Oh, no, I don't see a Zoom chat. I just hear a word that says storehouses. I'm sorry, Galen, tonight I'm not going to talk about storehouses. Unless there was a specific question.
Can I ask one more question?
Let's see if there's anybody else first.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at one point you were saying that if there's this tense meditator who's in control or trying to be in control and is responsible for the whole universe, that makes meditation difficult, if not being mutually exclusive to meditation.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then to whom are the meditation instructions directed? Like, who is letting go? Who is allowing the body? Who is the sovereign entity that has the ability to allow or not allow the body to be as it is?
The sovereign entity.
The sovereign entity.
What you have like an echo effect, so I can't quite.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is
anyone else hearing echo? It might be because it's coming through my. Is it okay? Could you repeat yourself?
From the beginning?
No, just your reply said the sovereign entity is the one who can do it.
That's what you were replying that to me?
Yes.
Okay. Who is the sovereign entity?
Who is the sovereign entity?
I don't know.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
It's a good question, but you answered it. Yeah. I sometimes say a lot of the instructions that we give, the mind can't do them. Right? But something in us is already there, is already fully the Dharma. Yeah. So your mind doesn't have to do these things. Okay, say.
You said your Dharma brother was, it was the Dharma coming through when they said, you used to be funny. And my question is it ever not the Dharma? Is anything ever not the Dharma coming through?
The ability to experience everything as the Dharma depends on the Dharma. So the Dharma experiences everything as the Dharma, but the mind tends to experience things as I like it or I don't. It's useful to me or it's not. So there's a kind of magic, sometimes we call it nirmanakaya, that when we are really practicing, we begin getting teachings from everything. A windowsill, a random text, somebody who gives us the bird in traffic. There's a kind of communication that opens up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a follow-up of that same, what happened to your sense of humor, and how did you get it back?
For me, I had accumulated a mass of intention in my practice that was a mix of karmic things, braided with some genuine aspiration. And basically what happened is it served me up to a point, and then I kept going past that point with that same braid of karmic bundle of seriousness. And I just saw that. I saw that, oh, I'm practicing in a way that I no longer need. And I think it was reflected to me by this person, but also reflected to me by different teachings and life itself. There's some way in which we get in grooves of effort, and this applies, I think, not just to meditation, but to other domains of life. We get in grooves of effort, and it becomes a style of being, and it was relevant or skillful at one moment, but it no longer is, but we keep riding the bike the same way. We don't really bring it up to speed, and that's what had happened for me. So just because of who I was, there was a lot of somber gravity to the practice of my early years. It was not separable from digesting all of the wounding of my upbringing and so forth. So I think the main thing is to let people reflect to us our style of being. And sometimes we do a lot to avoid letting people reflect to us our style of being. You notice most people will instantly avoid the person who they know sees them in a way that's not in a favorable light. But you can't do that, especially in an intimate kind of residential sangha. So I was lucky because I kind of liked this guy. So he could say that to me, right? And I could hear it, and that was a blessing. This is part of the reason why it's said that one needs a teacher to practice Zen. Because one never fully sees oneself. It's also true that a teacher may never fully see you, but in a lot of times they have a better chance of seeing you in your wholeness than you might. So basically the universe gave me the message to loosen up. And the moral is we can really just listen. A listening stance about our practice is really valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Community of Oregon podcast, and thank you for your practice. New episodes air every week. Please consider making a donation at zendust.org. Your support supports us.